Welcome to the Mount Pleasant Podcast, featuring discussions and interviews about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant such a special place.
This is the Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Cleary, and all thanks to the great people of Mount Pleasant Magazine, I get the honor, the privilege of introducing you to Mount Pleasant, the people who make it such a special place to do business, to work, and even to live. We're introducing you to Mount Pleasant's best on the Mount Pleasant Podcast. At a recent meeting of the Mount Pleasant Town Council, they awarded a check to a nonprofit organization that came from the results of the annual Blessing of the Fleet. That check was given for more than $13,000 to Meowdog. You may not be familiar with Meowdog, so today with me, Brian Cleary, on the Mount Pleasant Podcast, we're going to fill you in all about Meowdog with the founder, director of the organization, Alex McCarrell. First, let's start with you. Meowdog. How do you explain what Meowdog is to someone like me who asks?
So we started an animal rescue. I'm first a vet science teacher, but me and my students started an animal rescue through the vet science program at our local high school. And we pull animals from shelters and we rehab them and get them better and then get them adopted out into the community.
Alex, who came up with the name Meowdog? I love it.
One of my students. I wanted something silly and kind of fun, but then also dogs and cats. So they were like, we agonized over it for a while. And finally one day somebody was like, what do you just want something like Meowdog? And I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. So that's kind of how it came about.
Ding, ding, ding. The light bulb goes off. It's a great name. It's so memorable and pretty much encapsulates all you do. So let me take you back because your nonprofit now almost 2 years old, but relatively new. What was it that at that time made you think, we need this organization in Mount Pleasant?
I've been asked multiple times to start my own rescue, and I'm always like, no, there's no way. We don't have money. We don't have the people. We don't have the team. But when I started the vet program at Lucy Beckham High School in 2020, we were working with other rescues, and gradually over several years, we kind of built a little community of foster families. We had supplies in the vet room, and it just became one of those things where somebody asked me one day in 2023, why don't you just start your own rescue? And I stopped and I was like, well, I don't really have a reason not to anymore, other than the funds. And so we started fundraising and we got permission from the district and my principal, and we made it legit, through the IRS and all that. And the rest is kind of history, and it's kind of taken off very quickly. So
that's where that $13,000, the part of the proceeds from the Blessing of the Fleet come in. And we are excited here in Mount Pleasant to know that money is going to such a great organization. We're talking with Meowdog today on the Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm Brian Cleary, and joining us on the podcast is Alex McCarrell. She is the founder, director, and also Reynolds Lee. If I'm correct, do I have to say President Lee, or is it just okay, Reynolds?
It's okay with just Reynolds.
All right. So you are the president of the vet club at Lucy Beckham High School. First of all, can I say how cool? Because when I was in high school, it was like the chess club was the big thing. How is it that a vet club came about, and how does one get to be the president of the vet club?
Yes, sir. So the vet club kind of came around beginning of when Lucy Beckham opened in 2020. And with Ms. McCarroll's permission, we're like, why don't we start something that everyone can be a part of if you're not in the veterinary science class? We kind of trial and errored it for a few years. Through that time, we've been able to kind of build volunteers, fosters for Meowdog, and also just be able to educate the general population of Lucy Beckham on animal safety and welfare. For me personally, I just took on the role as president by Ms. McCarroll's request, saying, hey, I need someone that needs to run this, that can run this effectively. And I was like, sure, I'll take on that task and we'll see how it goes. And I just kind of ran with it.
Reynolds, how big is the vet club at Lucy Beckham High School? How many students are we talking?
We started originally with about 15 students. And then last school year, we grew to about 85 to 90 students.
I would have to think that would be one of the coolest clubs to be a part of at the school, just because, who doesn't like furry four-legged friends?
Yes.
The correlation between the two, obviously, you're both with the school itself. This is a really interesting dynamic, Alex. The fact that it was able to come together, obviously, you've got the support of all of the administration at the school, right?
Yes, yes. I've had several people in the community approach me saying, why don't we have this at all schools? And I always say it starts with administration and our principal and our other APs in the school. They're amazing and they're just wonderful and very open-minded about it all. So that's kind of one of our goals, is to prove and to show that other schools could have this as well if they wanted to.
Reynolds, can you give me an idea of what the veterinary program at Lucy Beckham High School, what's that all about? I didn't even realize there was a program like that available.
There's 4 different levels. It starts with Intro to Veterinary Science or Agriculture and Biosystems. So it kind of gives that foundation of medical terminology, agriculture, and how it all intertwines together. And then you go on to the 2nd and 3rd level, which introduces body systems and interconnectedness of those systems. So then you can apply your knowledge from intro, see how it is on an animal. And then that 4th and final level is an internship, which you go out into the community and with a host vet, and they will kind of take you under their wing for a semester or the entire year. You'll kind of be able to apply that knowledge that you've learned in the classroom and be able to use it in the real world.
So Reynolds, at what point in the program are you right now?
I am a completer of the program, so I've done all 4 levels of the veterinary science program.
And where did you intern at?
I internship at Animal Medical Center of Mount Pleasant, right off of Houston Northcutt.
I have to think that that was a pretty interesting, rewarding experience for you.
Yes, it is something that I really wouldn't have thought I would have done going into my freshman year of like, okay, I'm going to go through all 4 levels and then eventually be at a vet's office learning about veterinary medicine at the point I am now.
Becoming a vet is probably the end goal. And I would have to think that being in this program has put you ahead of some other people who maybe just go into their first year of college and don't have the experience that you have.
I kind of had the idea that I wanted to be a vet, but now with the all 4 classes underneath my belt, yes, I want to do this. Versus going to college and being like, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this?
In 1982, it was East Cooper Magazine. Now it's Mount Pleasant Magazine. Mount Pleasant Magazine is about the people, places, and events that make Mount Pleasant a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Your community, your magazine. Mount Pleasant Magazine.
You're listening to the Mount Pleasant Podcast.
This is where the pages of Mount Pleasant Magazine come alive. We go in depth a little further here on the Mount Pleasant Podcast. I'm Brian Cleary. Thanks so much for sharing a little time with me today. Reynolds Lee is with Lucy Beckham High School, the president of the veterinary club, and Alex McCarrell is the founder and director of Meowdog, which is our subject today. Alex, people in Mount Pleasant may say, well, I understand you put together the organization, but we've got the Charleston Animal Society already. Why do we need Meowdog?
I love Charleston Animal Society, and I think they're doing an amazing job. Rescues are a little bit different from shelters. So I always like to first start with that and say that, our shelters all over the state are just overrun. They're bursting at the seams. I say that all the time. The rescues go in and they'll pull from shelters. That's kind of one of the main things that rescues do. We also take random things off the street if somebody finds one. But our biggest source of animals is going into shelters and pulling them and then helping the shelters kind of alleviate some of the overpopulation issues. Charleston Animal Society is one shelter. There's so many other parts of the state. I've lived in the upstate, I've lived in Columbia, and now in the low country. And so my heart is really pulling from the more rural shelters. We also donate a lot of food that we get to the more rural shelters because everyone knows about Charleston Animal Society, but they don't know about the places in Sumter or Manning or Union or, even the upstate. It's kind of one of the most near and dear things to me that, these animals are everywhere. They're not just in Charleston.
I can't go past anywhere until I find out something random off the street. Give me maybe a unique example of something that's been brought to you.
Where do I begin? You want to share the random cat you found and texted me one day?
It was one random weekend. I was at a friend's house and all of a sudden we just heard this meowing come from their garage. We looked up in the ceiling and sure enough, there's just a cat. So I was like, I don't know what to do with this cat. So I texted Miss McCarrell and was like, hey, I found this cat. What do I do? She was like, okay, find it a home for tonight and we can bring it into the program and adopt it out.
And that happens a lot. Yes. Every day. We don't always say yes, but we try to say yes as much as we can.
And I'm sure that is the case every day because a lot of people don't realize, but the number of strays and, animals that are out there, the numbers are just mind boggling. So thank you for what you're doing. People may ask, okay, so Meowdog Rescue, is there a building? Is there a place I go to visit the animals to drop off food?
That's the tricky part because we are volunteer based. So we run out of foster homes. So we do not have a set place. We run outside of Lucy Beckham High School. So I always tell people the front office staff is amazing and they're very supportive of us. So I always tell people they can go and drop off, donations at the front office during school hours. That helps a lot, because there's only so much I can keep in my garage. As far as meet and greets go, we try to have adoption events, and that's a good way to come. We always encourage everyone to come and meet animals that way. But otherwise, we have them fill out a meet and greet form. It's to possibly adopt an animal. And once we have that process, we'll coordinate whoever's interested with the foster family, and they can go and meet them that way.
Take that a step further, if you wouldn't mind, because you have meet and greet events, but then there's also meet and greet in terms of an individual who's going to be introduced to a dog, cat, whatever. So if I'm interested in an animal, if you could tell me what the process would be there. And then secondly, if you could follow up with, because I know you have meet and greet events.
We have a website, meowdoganimalrescue.com. And if you go to that website, there's a link on there that you just click. It says apply to meet and greet. We also have a whole section on the website that has our adoptable animals on it, and it has bios on each of them. So you can go and peruse what we have up for adoption. Another great way to do that is on the social media accounts. If you follow us, we post every day on that. You go to the apply meet and greet link, and it takes you to an adoption application. And people always panic. They're like, but this is the adoption application. I'm like, right, it's just an app. You're applying to possibly adopt an animal is what I always say. And it just gives us some information on your background. It tells us what you are looking for. Do you have animals? What animals do you have? Sometimes we'll have animals that aren't good. I might have a dog that's not good with cats, so that wouldn't be a good fit. Things like that. We make sure that your animals are up to date on vaccines, because a lot of times there's only so much you can really see with an animal with a picture. You don't want a really high energy dog that, you don't have a fenced in backyard or something like that. So I might say, okay, well, this animal might be a better fit. So the application process is not just to get you to apply to adopt an animal. It's also to make sure it's a good fit. Because we are foster based, I try to keep my foster families doing as less work as possible, because they're already doing us a huge favor. Then if all of that's good, if we meet and greet, we apply, we meet and greet, and we love the animal we want to adopt, I let them go to the home and do a trial run with the animal. If it's a puppy, maybe a weekend. If it's an adult, we encourage at least a week, because adults come with baggage. They're not as flexible and as pliable as the puppies are and the kittens are. Once they decide that they definitely want to adopt, we'll send them an adoption contract and they pay the adoption fee, and then the rest is good to go.
Well, let's go a little deeper in terms of, I think some people know, but not everybody understands, and whoever wants to explain it, fostering, what that means and what's the importance of fostering. I know it's huge.
Yes, I always say to people, if they're on the fence between I want to foster or I want to adopt an animal, I always tell them we need fosters more than we need adopters. We obviously need both, but again, the shelters are overrun. I tell people no every day. It's really, really sad, the amount of animals in plight and in our state that need help. And the more foster families we have, the more animals we can save. And we never take anything in and then immediately adopt it out. And it's going to need vet care. It's going to need socialization. We need to make sure it doesn't have anything that it just hasn't presented symptoms with yet. So we always do a quarantine period. So we need people to open their homes to, give these babies a safe place to be for a little while. And we provide all supplies. There's also a foster application on the website. We provide all supplies you need, whether it's food, potty pads, crates, toys, whatever you need, we will give you. And we just ask that you keep them safe, teach them love. If it's a puppy, we ask that you make sure that they're getting, potty training, learning like basic commands, things like that. And then we're always here to help and support. We have two different kinds of fostering. I call it short-term fostering and long-term fostering. The short-term is usually at this point students in the school during the school year that take a puppy home at night and bring it back during the day. And I love that because it shows the animal all different kinds of environments. And so we know it's good with cats, it's good with dogs, it's good with little kids, it's good with big kids, whatever it is. And it's great for socialization. That's one of the things we're known for, is we're really, really good at socializing our animals, because they're in a classroom most of the day and then they go to lots of homes. The adults, we try to keep more stable. We try to keep them in a long-term foster. Usually the adults that we pull have a lot of, they're probably abused, or they have a medical issue. They don't need to be passed around. They need a stable environment. So we ask for more long-term fosters with our adults usually.
So one more question on fostering. Hopefully you got a great answer to this, because this is what my wife would say. Oh, I'd love to do it, but if I bring a dog in, I'm never going to want to give him up.
Yep. I literally just had this conversation this morning with a foster. She came over to get some dog food, and I told her, if we keep them, then we can't save more. And there's always more. So yes, you're attached to this baby right now, but it's going to have a wonderful home. You get pup dates, you get kitty updates, you get to see them happy and thriving in their homes. And in the meantime, you're now saving something new. The first one's always the hardest to get rid of. But once you see the good that you're doing for the community and the good that you're putting out into the world, it makes it worth it, and it makes it a lot easier.
I'm Brian Cleary. Today on the Mount Pleasant podcast, we're talking with Reynolds Lee and also Alex McCarrell. They are with Meowdog. And Reynolds, let me ask you this. How many pets do you have?
I only have one dog. That's kind of like, we kind of have a joke in vet science. My dog is a snob. She does not like any other animals in the house. So I've definitely taken home a handful of animals, either a medical case or something that kind of needs more close monitoring, just being a completer in the program. And my one dog, she does not like it at all.
Let's turn it around. You are obviously making a difference in the community. You're helping these furry four-legged friends out. What is it that folks in Mount Pleasant can do? What's your biggest, beyond fostering, obviously, what's the needs? How can I help Meowdog?
There's a lot of ways, like we said, fostering, donating. I always say, I hate to say it, and I'm terrible at asking for it, but we need money. It's really expensive to run a rescue, even more than I thought. And I fostered with other rescues for 15 years before I started my own. Dr. Stephen Epstein at Animal Medical Center is amazing, and I'm just so thankful for him. They have discounted a lot of our stuff, and that's the only way that we can even function. I always have bad dreams that he's going to move away or something. We need money because our average vet bill every month is anywhere between $5,000 and $7,000 normally.
Wow.
And that's with the discount. And we do a lot of the vetting ourselves. So money's a biggie. We always will take donations. We need more followers on social media. I always say like and follow our posts. Even if you can't afford to give us money or to donate supplies, then like and share our posts, because that's the best way to get things adopted. And then lastly, on our website, we have an Amazon wish list and a Chewy wish list. And so both of those give us, just our foods that we need, potty pads, just basic things, toys. And then also, if you have anything laying around your house, just old pet things that you're not using anymore, leashes, collars, dog beds, crates, all of those things. We have gotten so many things like that donated to the rescue, and it's so helpful.
So Alex, is the best way for me to donate, just go to the website and you'll have links where I can donate money?
Yes. If you go to the website, you scroll down to the very bottom, all of our, PayPal, Venmo, Amazon, Chewy, all of it is right there at the bottom of the page.
And Reynolds, what's going to be next for you? I guess you wrap up at Beckham High in the spring. Then what's next?
Yes, I'll be graduating the spring of this coming school year. So I know Miss McCarrell is very sad about that. And hopefully either Clemson or Tennessee once applications open here in August.
And between now and then, obviously, there's a lot you can accomplish. Let me wrap up on this. What does this mean to the other students at Lucy Beckham? It's got to be so fulfilling, I would think, to be a member of the club and to be a part of Meowdog.
Yes, everyone is kind of knocking down at the door just to go snuggle with puppies and just get that enrichment of just, even though they may not be in that vet science class, that they can still make an impact. And that's what a lot of our members have taken with them of, I can make an impact even though I might not be in the classroom 24/7.
I would like to piggyback on that and say that a lot of people think that the vet science program is just for aspiring veterinarians. And it's really not. It's just for people that have a love of animals. It could be that you want to work with animals, or you just are having a bad day and you want to come cuddle something because it makes you feel better. And then it's also empowering students to really go and do things out in the community instead of just saying, this is what I should be doing, or I'm just, staring at a cell phone. It's a good way to really get them really involved and hands-on.
Well, thanks both of you for your time today, and thanks for what you're doing. Meowdog, making an impact with our furry four-legged friends here in the Mount Pleasant community. If you have the opportunity, please donate to them. Go to their website, like the social media posts. That has such importance for organizations like this. We really would appreciate if you would do so. They've been the recipient, one of the beneficiaries of this year's Blessing of the Fleet. They're a part of our community, and let's help them grow. Meowdog, Alex McCarrell, and Reynolds Lee, our guests today with me, Brian Cleary, here on the Mount Pleasant Podcast.
Thanks for spending your time with the Mount Pleasant Podcast, your community, your podcast. Listen to past and future episodes at mountpleasantpodcast.com.